I'm going to bring to order the LDC meeting. Jasmine, could you please take a roll call?
If you don't mind, I think this is probably a good moment for me to.
Okay. Okay.
But we won't have quorum.
Oh,
So, but we need to do the budget,
Okay.
At the very,
let's do the things we have
Yes.
to do,
Yep.
right, and
We'll
I'll
do
just push.
Okay, so Jasmine, if you could take the roll.
Cindy,
Here.
Mark Doyle,
Yep.
Kathy Bauer,
here,
Amy Bonadiri, James McCollum, Don Sagliano, Al Pagano.
Here.
Okay, conflict of interest, as everybody knows, if you have a conflict with anything that comes before us during this meeting, please let us know. If you know now, let me know now. If not, please let us know if it comes up. Sarah, approve of meeting
Yes.
posted, bills and communications. Approval of minutes from September 21st. Has everybody had a chance to review those? If so, I will entertain a motion
I'll
to
make that
approve them. Thank you, Kathy. Could I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mark. All in favor, Jasmine, could you take a roll call?
Mark Doyle,
Approved.
Kathy Bauer,
approved.
Al Pagano,
Approved.
Jim Dean.
Approved. Okay, report of treasurer.
Yes, looking at the balance sheet, there's 2.8 million in cash. Also, there's a receivable of 203,000. That's the Dutchess County reimbursement of 119,000. And then the ARP is 83,000. Looking at the P&L, we have total income of 944,000 to a budget of 1.3 million for unfavorable variance of 341,000. We have expenses of 892,000 to a budget of 1.3 million for a favorable variance of 386,000. We have net income of 52,000 to a budget of 7,000 for a favorable variance of 45,000.
Okay, any questions about that? All right, let's move on to the budget and tariff submission.
Okay, this one's a little more complicated, so I'm going to do 2022 first and then go into the budget. All right, so for administrative fees, we are expecting to end the year at $264,000. That is based on Marist College closing during the year. As they went for applications fees, we have the $1,000 for the one application. And for compliance fees, we have $1,000 from two projects. The Dutchess County reimbursement of $651,000 is $451,000 from the annual service contract, and $200,000 is part of the American Relief Plan. Then we have line item number 5, the IDA, $150,000 professional service contract for income. Private sector is $70,000. That was based on 3 different events from this past year for the Networking Breakfast Accelerator Hudson Valley and the Business Excellence Awards. WIB is going to come in at $29,100. And that includes rent and equipment and additional service fees. Just remember in 2021, we received an increase in payment from them from unpaid rent from 2020. That's why the numbers are a little bit higher if you look back to 2021. And then interest income anticipating $10,250 from the slight increase in interest rates that we're finally starting to see on our monies that's sitting out there in the banks. So that will bring us in at about $1.1 million for 2022 with our income. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay. Now, moving on to expenses, our annual audit with RBT, the cost is going to be at $13,000. We have budgeted the $1,000 that we talked about if we wanted to buy a board table at an event. And so that will probably get spent. And then our computers and cost of that is going to come in a little bit higher at $12,900. That's due to bringing on additional employees, the cost of onboarding them, and with our IT firm. Dues and subscriptions is expected to be at $48,000 for year end, just slightly under budget. Education and training right now is going to be slightly under budget at $2,900. Equipment costs is going to be a little bit lower at $850. And then the event production, the cost for the three events that we just discussed, the income is going to be around $70,000. Insurance is going to be slightly over at 4,200. And miscellaneous expenses is going to be slightly under at $160,000. And that also, the income that we get from the American Relief Plan is in that expense figure. Okay.
I'm sorry, meant marketing.
The marketing expense, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the line, I'm working my way down. Maybe I should use a piece of paper, keep it on the same.
I just have a thought here. I know Mark is pressed for time. We are going to be having a special meeting for the other project sometime, I would assume, in the next couple of weeks.
Well, so the only issue with the budget is that it is Paris.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Paris was touched.
All right, okay. I just don't want to feel rushed. Okay.
All right.
Just,
Keep going, Kathy.
Okay, all right. Let's see. Miscellaneous expenses is going to come in around 3,100. And some of that is depreciation, which we don't get that figure until we do our audit with the auditors. So that number would actually get put into that. And that's a non-cash figure. It just has to go on there. Office supplies will be slightly under at 4,000. Payroll tax and payroll fringe. It's, with the employees, we have a couple new employees in there. It's really going to be, one number is going to be slightly lower than budget. One number is going to be slightly higher, but it's all right around the budget figure. The payroll fringe is, because some of the employees are not using the full 18,000 that's allotted to them each year. So that number is a little bit lower because of that. Phone is going to be coming in around 7,100. Again, it's a transitioning extra expenses from moving employees around. Postage is a little bit less, printing's a little bit less. Professional fees, that $10,000 figure is slightly under budget. And let's see. Our professional service contracts are going to be slightly lower at 215,000, and that's our marketing expense and WEDC. And rent, okay. Jane, you're going to have to help me with the rent.
Okay.
Accounting laws changed. GASB changed for this year, and we've been working with our accounting as to how we should show this figure on our budget. What we're showing is the actual cash outlay, and I'll let Jane explain the rest of it.
This one, right, the one that you're looking at is if you have the rent at 115,000, that is 25,000 over the actual cash outlay. It's just a presentation. It's almost like we look at depreciation. It's not cash outlay. It's just we have to put the interest expense up front, and then it gets allocated over 30 years of the lease. So the auditors did say we can present it at any way we feel, like we do the depreciation. We don't include depreciation in the budget because it's not a cash outlay. Is if we wanted to present the budget as a cash outlay, and I think Jamie was the one that had brought that up, it would be fine. So there is a different view of the budget underneath that does have it back at the cash outlay.
Of 89.
Line 28, 89,000.
Jane would be okay to footnote it with an explanation.
Yeah, on the narratives, it does, we change the narratives on both scenarios.
Okay.
It's fine. Our audited financial statements do not include the budget.
Do you have any recommendation about how you would like to see it?
I would go according to the way that we don't reflect depreciation. If you're fine with that, then I would go with the cash outlay rate.
Is that what?
Only to stay consistent.
Okay, so that's what unless there's objections, we will do that.
So that would be, just so then when Kathy goes into the 2023 budget year, the version that you would want to look at is the one that's dated 10/17/2022 at the bottom.
Okay. Let's see, trade shows are slightly under at $4,000, and then travel and meetings at 15,000 as more and more events open up to, what the way they used to be. Any questions on the 2022 expenses? Okay. Moving on to 2023. Okay. So income, we're proposing 215,000 for next year. That is based on one project closing. Same thing, application fees, compliance fees, also based on, application fees based on one project, compliance fees based on 3 projects. 450,000 for income from the county. That's what we're proposing to them. County budget has not been approved, but that's pretty consistent with the past years. $150,000 professional service contract with the IDA. Private sector donations of 70,000 based on the Business Excellence Awards events that we're going to have for next year. Rent will be slightly down. There's been a reconfiguration, less space on rent from workforce and investment board. So the rent is going to be almost 29,000. And then interest, we're keeping it very, very conservative, anticipation that we might go into our fund balances next year. If the rates keep going up and we get more interest, that'll be fantastic. So that would give total income of 926,000. Any questions about any of the anticipated income? Okay. So audit costs 13,300 with our contract with RBT, board expenses of $1,000, computer consulting of 14,100. That's just an increase in the service supports implementation of additional security measures. Dues of $50,000. That's our subscription for annual dues, including our CRM system and our cost benefit programs and business intelligence programs that we're now engaging. Education and training of $4,000 for the staff, $2,000 for equipment costs, $50,000 to produce the expense for our events for the BEA. Insurance fees of $4,500, marketing expenses of $100,000. That's no pass-through expenses from the county will happen in 2023. Office supplies, $2,000, payroll. Hold on, I am losing. Okay. Too many lines. It's 5,000 is office supplies. Payroll, payroll tax, and payroll fringe would cost, the obvious cost for the employees. And then the payroll fringe is based upon the fact if the board approves increasing the individual's benefits, that is included in that $144,000 figure.
And just remind us, I know we're going to discuss, but remind us what the increase was from.
It's from 18,000 to 24,000 per employee.
That's the recommended.
Yes.
Recommended, yeah.
And that was based on the fact that we haven't raised it in how many years?
Since 2016.
Okay.
Was the last time we raised it.
Okay, let's see, phone expenses, 6,500, postage, printing each of 500, professional fees stays the same at 10,000, professional service contracts with, for marketing and the WEDC stays the same at 215,000. Our rent goes up slightly. If you're looking at the 1017 figure, that's the cash outlay only at 91,000. Trade shows, we're anticipating going to more trade shows next year, so that's up at 15,000, and travel for meetings and everything up to 25,000 based on attending more of events with Sarah. So that comes in a total cost of 1.273 million. Any questions?
So again, these are conservatively done. And some years we exceed the revenues, some years we don't, but again, we've had a 5-year forecast with that as well.
The 5-year is based as a 3% increase year over year.
And we had budgeted 144,000, but history tells us that not every employee will use all of their allotments.
Correct.
So it could come in lower than that, if we approve the. All right, questions? Mark. You look like
Well,
you have one.
So I know we've talked about the wave effect of business, our business, and how it goes, but, and I suppose there's no way of projecting that. Otherwise you'd have a major,
Interest rates are going up.
yeah.
People aren't necessarily gonna be,
Right.
continue going out there and looking for something to build while rates are high.
It's going to be a while before we see the,
Well, but also, it's hard to
Depends on how
predict how the
busy they-
recession will affect the Hudson Valley
Yeah.
because we still have the effect of people moving here from the city.
Right,
So we may be somewhat protected.
yeah.
yeah.
It's hard to say. But yes, we go through waves.
So just to have that, I mean, so we have a good fund balance.
Yes.
So we can carry this on and build our portfolio for a couple more years in this way and then have to deal with the reality of changing
If, yes. if
Yes.
that's
style
were to
later on.
occur.
Okay.
And we do have the Paris estimates as well, where we try and again conservatively look at things.
Happy with
So
that.
it's unsettling, but it's in the nature of our business in some ways.
Try farming.
Good point. All right, are there any questions about the proposed budget? Okay, I would also like to because I'm thinking we could vote on both at the same time because it's in this budget. Let's talk about that fringe proposal. It was discussed at our last meeting. Al, you may not have been present, but Sarah had presented to us that we had not increased the amount available to the employees here to purchase health insurance, fund their 401ks, what else?
So, it's medical insurance, it's dental, vision, supplemental insurance, the 401k. And so those are the options available through them through staff line. What we've seen is a dramatic increase in the medical insurance coverage portion. The dental and vision stay pretty stable.
And I mean, since 2016, we haven't raised this. So, even based on inflation in healthcare costs and other things, they've fallen behind, really.
Medical's taken a, what, a 8.5% increase.
What's that?
Most of the medical insurance policies jumped about 8.5%.
In
I know
one
for
year.
the county,
Yeah.
it's in 1 year.
Right, so,
Now, does this, sorry, the 144, that includes
we
this
asked them to
projection?
budget for what
24
the
increase.
discussion was, so we could see how it fit in the budget, yes. So that's if all the employees used all of their 25,000, which if they don't take the health insurance, there's certain things that prevent them from using every bit of
Everything,
it
yeah.
for other things. So does anybody have any questions or comments about the increase in that?
I did provide a memo for the board just to see the costs.
Okay,
So it includes in the memo on page 2, it'll show what the coverage has been in the past, and then with the 18,000, what's that been able to cover, as well as the proposed benefit, how that would impact it, as well as after our last meeting, we received the 2023 medical insurance rates, and so I've included that rate for you as well, so you can see the change
yeah,
in cost and coverage.
staggering.
In my sort of way of looking at it is, yes, if we're looking just at the costs, absolutely, it makes sense. But I think that it's also a question of, our positioning as far as hiring employees goes.
Right.
And where we're positioned in the marketplace, because that's the bottom line. I think the costs of the cost, it's not as
Correct.
important to the discussion as where we're positioned in the marketplace.
Yes.
So, I guess the question there is, are we on the edge? You've had some hiring experience in the last year. Are we on the edge of not being competitive, or how's it feel hiring people?
right now, it's, I mean, the number, we did have one employee leave because of the health benefit coverage, being one of the factors. And then when we were going through the hiring, process, the benefits was, often a, top question they had about, a position here and how the benefit works. We've had, probably 2 prospective applicants turn down the position because of the benefits. Because the salary may be similar to what they were getting, but because of the benefit package, it actually costs them more to take this position versus that. So that's, so it is, I think it's a factor.
I would say at the current, just from my observation, at the current level, it is probably not competitive. If we were to increase it by this much, I think it brings it, more in the range, but.
Okay.
Does anybody have any, would anybody like to remove the increase in the allotment for benefits from the motion and vote on it separately? Or would it be okay if we voted on the 2 of them together? Okay,
No,
so.
I think I've seen what I need to see.
Okay, so what I'm going to look for is a motion to approve the budget as presented, and also within that budget acknowledging that it is with the increase in the annual allowance from 18,000 to 24,000 per employee as described. Could I get someone to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Al. Could I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kathy. Jasmine, would you please take a vote?
Mark Doyle,
Approved.
Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Al Torriani,
Approved.
Cindy.
Approved. Okay, do we need to approve those things for the county payments?
Yes, so that, I would say that would be the, yes.
Okay, so, go ahead, who wants to cover that?
I can cover that real quickly.
Okay.
So this is just for our third quarter submission. The county requires us to have board approval to submit a request. It's fairly standard. We're on track to meet all the goals, so
These are the amounts that
these
we're
are the
entitled
amounts that we're entitled to.
Can I get a motion to approve these for the county reimbursement request and the county ARP reimbursement request, which are both in this package, correct, Sarah? Yes,
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
both of them here. Is there any questions on either one? So to accomplish this and get Mark out as quickly as possible, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve both of those at the same time. Can I get that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Kathy.
I'll second.
Thank you, Al. Okay, Jasmine.
Mark Doyle,
Approved.
Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Al Torriani,
Approved.
Cindy.
Approved. And since this final item is something we discussed in the last meeting, everybody's familiar with it, about the open meeting policy, the request to get approval to go to public hearing on that. Could I get a motion on that in a second? Thank you, Mark.
I'll
Second.
second.
Thank you, Al. Jasmine, would you take a vote on that?
Mark Doyle,
Approved.
Kathy Bauer,
Approved.
Al Torriani,
Approved.
Approved. Sarah, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
No.
Okay, again, apologize for a little bit of expediting, but I think we were able to cover everything.
Much appreciated.
Yes. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you all for attending, and we'll look forward to hearing about the special meeting we may need to have for the other applicant. We're adjourned.